Hello everyone and welcome to Learn to Draw in Color. My name's Travis and today's project we're going to be drawing a Pokemon named Lechonk. Before we get started we're going to need some art supplies. I'm going to be using these Moncola markers. If you're interested in using these markers I'll have a link in the description. I'm also going to be using some marker specific paper. This just helps keep some of the ink from bleeding through. I'm also going to be using a pencil with an eraser. So Lechonk's body is basically a circle, slightly oval, and so I want to get that large piece done first, and then everything else kind of fits around the body. And so you need to get the proportions right to make the drawing look correct. So I like to start with the big pieces first, get the proportions right, and then fill in the details after the fact. So I'll make the big things first, like the snout that I've got going on here. It's almost like a leaned over triangle with very round edges. After that, we'll move into the legs. And they're kind of fat little chubby legs. And so here's a little tip. If you want to make a character look fat, like a pig, or Lechonk in this case, what you'll want to do is make the body look big and the legs look small. That'll automatically make the character look a little squat and chunky. You also notice that I use the eraser a lot, especially at the kind of beginning stages of the drawing. That's because I need to get the proportions right. And so if they're off a little bit, the drawing doesn't quite look right. And so I'll use the eraser quite a bit to slightly change my shapes a little bit. The ear is basically like a leaf that's lying on its side, and then the eyeball is like a half oval right underneath it. Lechonk has an eyelid that's kind of in a unique shape. You'll see it's almost like an S that's on its side. And so I kind of draw it over the shape of the eye and make it just slightly bigger than the eye, so it looks like it's wrapped around the eye. And then what I do is I just use the eraser to erase the portion of the eye that the eyelid would cover up. Now it's time to do the other ear. And so you'll see that the point of the ears, both ears, are kind of on the same plane. So if I was going to draw a horizontal line across the points of the ears, they would line up. And that makes them look level. The hooves are kind of unique. Once I get the legs, all I do is I make a little blip in the leg, kind of push it up a little bit, and then there you go. And then I'll kind of round them off a little bit to make them look like they're poking out. The tail is definitely the toughest part of the three-dimensional drawing that we're doing here. So you gotta make a loop, and then you're gonna have to do, the back of the tail goes behind the front of the tail. So I start at the back and I work my way forward, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna eventually use the eraser to erase the lines that are in the background. But again, I've got to get the shape just right. And so right there, I don't quite like it because the tip of the tail is not quite poking out enough. So I'm going to change it. I'm going to have it go a little bit farther out. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, so now it's time for that detail work. Time for the eye, which is going to be another, half oval inside of the larger portion of the eye. And now I have to work on the snout, which actually has quite a bit of detail in it. We've got two nostrils, and I bow the nostrils away from each other a little bit. And you'll notice that the snout or nostril that's closest, the one in the foreground, is larger. And so this is just how perspective works. The things that are closer are larger. So that nostril that's closer is larger than the one that's to the left. And just like these legs that I'm showing down here, the one that's in the very front is the largest leg, and the ones behind it are smaller. And that's what gives it that three-dimensional look. I'm adding some accent lines to the legs to make them look chunky. That's what those small lines are. And then in Lechonk's case, he's actually dual colored, and so he's got a bit of a brown face and a gray body. So I'm just doing like an outline of where the brown will be, and then I'll have a good separation between, you know, that brown face and the gray body once I get to coloring. Important note though, once I do get to the outline portion, you'll notice that I will not outline the edges of the brown face. That's because I want it to fade seamlessly into the gray. So I use the eraser to erase the lines that are in the background, and then start going over the drawing with my Moncola marker, just using the standard black. And because of the size of this drawing, I'm actually going to use the larger tip. With the Moncola markers, they have a really fine micro tip and then a larger tip. But even with the larger tip, because it's really pointed, you can get a lot of detail out of it. So I'm just going to, in this case, the outline is going to be done primarily with the larger tip. I may change a little bit once I get to the eyes, but now I'm going to do that general outline of the entire drawing with that black Moncola marker. If you like this video, if you find it useful, what I'd recommend you do is you like it. And if you want to learn more and you want to draw additional characters, Pokemons and such, go ahead and subscribe. I'm trying to produce as many of these as I can, and I appreciate the folks who kind of draw along with me. Speaking of which, this video is slightly sped up, so you wouldn't necessarily be able to draw and color it at this speed. So what you'll want to do is watch the video and kind of draw at your pace, and then pause it. And then once you've caught up to where I'm at, go ahead and hit play again, and you'll move forward. The snout, now that we're into the coloring, is actually dual toned. And so it's got a combination of a darker, like more of a red pink, and then a lighter pink. And I do that around the edges. And there's actually going to be two colors of this like mustardy brown. The lighter one is going to be used for the eyelid, and the darker one is going to be for the color of Lechonk's face. Now I'm taking my eraser and I'm making sure that all of the pencil lines are gone, because it just doesn't look right when you see those pencil lines. Going back to that darker mustardy yellow and filling in the rest of the face. I actually find that for coloring in large spaces like this, small circles helps to even out the color. Alright, this part gets a little bit tedious. Time to get that light gray going. And so this is going to take quite a while. And so again, try making like a small circular motion to color in with the marker. Unfortunately, as you'll see as I move into this further into this drawing, this marker I use quite a bit, this gray marker, and it actually starts running out of ink near the end. And so his rump is going to look a little bit odd at the end, but if you were to use a marker that wasn't running out of ink, the color would actually be very even. And you'll kind of see that, like say for example the legs, the color, it looks more even than what the rump's going to look like near the end, and that's just because my markers started running out of ink. So it's just a little bit unlucky. Also, as you look at this video, let me, in the comment area, let me know what else you would like to see me draw and color. I'd like to put up illustrations and drawings and tutorials on things that you guys like. Just filling in all those last little white pieces. There we go. And there is Lechonk, looking awesome. If you found this video helpful, please like. If you would like to know when new tutorials are available, please subscribe. Thank you very much for your time. Have a good one.